Okay, be honest for a second. Have you ever blamed someone else for a mistake that was totally yours? Look, we've all been there. It is just human nature to want to point the finger when things go south, right? But what actually happens when we dodge that responsibility and it pushes us to do something completely reckless?
Welcome to our explainer on I've Got Gloria. It's this absolutely brilliant piece of contemporary realistic fiction by the award-winning author M.E Kerr. Today, we're going to break down this super captivating short story to really explore the crazy consequences of dodging accountability. We'll see exactly how the author uses razor-sharp dialogue and clever pacing to teach a lesson that, well, we probably won't be forgetting anytime soon.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the fake dog napping prank.
So meet our protagonist, Scott. He is having a genuinely terrible summer. On the one hand, his reality, he just completely flunked math, which means he lost out on this huge, highly anticipated hiking trip to Yellowstone. Tough, right? But on the other hand, his reaction is literally insane. He decides to call his math teacher, Mrs. Whitman, pretending he's kidnapped her beloved bulldog, Gloria, and demands a $1,000 ransom. I mean, talk about a wildly disproportionate revenge scheme, especially for a failing grade that he actually earned himself.
What's so cool about this story is that it's driven almost entirely by this really snappy, super tense dialogue. Right from the jump, Scott calls Mrs. Whitman up posing as this tough guy he names Bud. He just drops this bombshell, "I've got Gloria." Then he immediately establishes his dominance by demanding cash before the dog can safely return. You can seriously just feel the tension crackling in these short, punchy little sentences.
And Scott, well, he pushes this cruel prank to the absolute limit. He demands $1,000, specifically in $100 bills, just totally reveling in the sheer panic he's causing her. For the very first time, Scott feels like he holds all the power over this teacher he absolutely despises. It's petty, it's really mean, but you know what? It perfectly sets the stage for a major reality check.
Which brings us to Section 2, a lesson in responsibility.
So, this big reality check happens during a really tense car ride with his father, and then something totally unexpected happens. His dad actually apologizes. Yeah, he admits that when he first found out about Scott's failing grade, he grounded him in just a fit of pure, blind anger. By stepping up and admitting his own rash parenting mistakes, his dad is actually modeling healthy behavior here. He's creating this safe opening for Scott to reflect.
Prompted by his dad's unexpected honesty, Scott's own defensive walls finally start to crumble. His dad keeps pressing him, asking if a teacher would seriously flunk a student just out of spite. And finally, Scott stops pointing fingers at Mrs. Whitman's tight little lips or her ugly freckles. When his dad flat out asks, "Who is to blame?" Scott just caves. Me, okay? I didn't study that hard. Guys, this is a massive breakthrough. He is finally, truly taking ownership.
Now let's move to Section 3, the caller ID twist. Okay, so Scott now realizes his prank was totally petty and wrong, right? So he sneaks off to a payphone to confess that it was all a joke. But old school technology has this brilliant little trap waiting for him. The second he hangs up, Mrs. Whitman dials *69. For those who don't know, that's this vintage phone feature that automatically rings back the very last number that called you. And since Scott made that first initial ransom call from his own house, yep, you guessed it, *69 directs Mrs. Whitman straight to Scott's mom.
And oh man, that brings us to just an incredible punchline. When Scott finally gets home, he finds out Mrs. Whitman called. Turns out, she didn't actually hate him before, but now she absolutely knows he was the mastermind behind this cruel prank. And the message she left for him? Tell him I'll see him this summer. I'm teaching remedial math. Boom! It is the ultimate twist. The very teacher he tried to torment now literally holds his entire summer right in her hands.
All right, let's unpack this a bit in Section 4, Character and Story Analysis.
So, how exactly did the author build all this tension? Mostly by giving us some truly brilliant character growth. Take Scott, for instance. He is the textbook definition of a dynamic character. He starts off incredibly spiteful, but through that heart-to-heart with his father, he experiences genuine internal growth and actually admits his fault. And his dad? He acts as a round character. He's complex enough to look in the mirror, admit his own flaws, and sincerely apologize to his son. M.E Kerr also just expertly wields irony to manage the story's tone. I mean, picture this. Scott tries to extort money by playing up that Gloria is this very valuable dog. And without missing a beat, Mrs. Whitman completely undercuts his whole tough guy act by replying, "Not really. I got her from the pound." It's hilarious. It injects this wonderfully light, funny tone right smack in the middle of a super tense extortion attempt, and it keeps us as readers totally hooked. And a huge part of that entertainment value comes down to the format itself. Just think about how differently the suspense would feel if this were written in a traditional narrative style, with those long, drawn-out descriptive paragraphs. Instead, we get this rapid-fire, dialogue-driven style that honestly feels more like reading a movie script. We're dropped right into the action. We have to figure out the characters' motivations purely through what they're saying to each other, rather than just having an omnipresent narrator tell us how they feel. It makes the whole conflict feel so immediate and really raw.
Finally, let's wrap things up with Section 5, Literary Tools and Vocabulary.
To give this story its true contemporary, realistic edge, the vocabulary choices are incredibly deliberate. The dialogue feels so authentic mainly because of these everyday phrasal verbs. Scott hung up the phone. His dad blew up in anger. And crucially, toward the end of the story, Scott finally admits that he sometimes screws up. Using these familiar phrases is exactly what grounds that whole father-son dynamic firmly in reality.
Then, we have the vocabulary of the conflict itself. Just consider the word spiteful, which means wanting to hurt, annoy, or get revenge on someone. Scott's initial motivation is perfectly 100% captured by this single word. Think about it. He isn't actually gaining anything by pretending to have the dog. He literally just wants Mrs. Whitman to suffer. It's such a sharp contrast to her own genuine, frantic love for her nutsy little bulldog. Understanding the sheer spite behind his actions is absolutely key to understanding Scott's fatal flaw at the very beginning of our story.
And all of this masterful pacing, all of this layered moral complexity comes straight from the mind of M.E Kerr. She actually won the Margaret Edwards Award for Lifetime Achievement in Young Adult Literature, and honestly, it is so easy to see why. She truly understands how to write engaging fiction that never talks down to its audience. Instead, she challenges us to take a good, hard look in the mirror.
Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question to think about. If you were Scott, failing a class and watching your entire awesome summer just slip away, would you have been tempted to lash out? And more importantly, when the heat of that anger finally fades, how do you step up and take responsibility when you're the one who made the mistake? Something to chew on. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. We'll see you next time.